Chapter 13. Chu Xianfu consults a worthy man about the examinations. Ma Chun Shang puts his money at the service of a friend. The Lau brothers had given 500 taels to iron-armed Chang so that he might repay his benefactor, and he left a leather bag containing a human head in their house. Although as members of the Prime Minister's house, they could never get into serious trouble, the presence of a head dripping with blood on the steps of their inner chamber caused them a little uneasiness. "A gallant like iron-armed Chang can be counted on not to fail us," said Lao Chan to his brother. "So we must on no account act like the common herd. Let us prepare a feast and invite all our closest friends to wait for him to come and open this bag. It's not every day that you can see a head change to water. Why not give a human head party?" Lao Feng agreed with him. As soon as it was light, he gave orders for a feast to be prepared in which they invited Niu Puyu, Qin Ho Fu, and Chu Xian Fu, in addition, of course, to the 3 guests staying in their house. They described the occasion as a small drinking party, without disclosing the real reason for the feast, intending to take all the guests by surprise when Iron-armed Chang arrived and gave his display. All the guests assembled and talked of this and that for 6 or 7 hours. But Iron-armed Chang did not come. By midday, there was no sign of him. "This is beginning to look odd," whispered Lao Feng to Lao Chan. "Something must have held him up," replied Lao Chan. "As long as his leather bag is here, he is sure to come." They waited till late afternoon, but still he had not come. And since the feast was ready, they had to invite their guests to table. It was a hot day, and the brothers began to be worried. "If he doesn't show up, what shall we do with the head?" they wondered. By evening, the leather bag was stinking. When the brothers' wives smelled it, they were uneasy, and sent servants to ask the 2 masters to have a look. Then the Lau brothers had to pluck up courage to open the bag, only to find in it not a human head, but a pig's head, weighing 6 or 7 caddies. The brothers gazed at each other in silent dismay, then ordered the pig's head to be taken to the kitchen for the servants to eat. Deciding after a whispered consultation to say nothing of this, they went back to accompany their guests, and they were there, feeling rather downcast, when the gatekeeper came in. "A runner is here from Wucheng County with a card from the magistrate," he announced. "He has brought 2 runners from Hisaoshan County and begs to be allowed to speak to you, sir." "Most peculiar," commented Lao Feng. "What can their business be?" Leaving his younger brother to entertain the guests, he went to the hall and ordered the runner to be admitted. The man came in and kowtowed. "His Excellency, our magistrate, greets you," he said. He then presented a warrant and a writ. Calling for candles, Lao Feng read this document, which ran as follows. "Magistrate Wu of Hisaoshan County reports on a local case of kidnapping. According to the abbess of Hu Yuan of Lanzhou Temple, her pupil, the nun Hisan Yuan, was seduced and kidnapped by a local vagabond named Chuan Wu Yang. This felon, before his crime was discovered, ran away to your county. Hence we transmit this case to you and request your honorable county to deal with the matter and send runners to assist our officers to find this culprit, who should then be arrested and brought back to our county for a trial. This is urgent." When Lao Feng had read this, the runner announced, "Our superior wishes to inform you, sir, that it is heard that you have harbored this felon, not knowing what manner of man he is. He requests you hand him over to me. Runners from his own county are waiting outside, and I shall give him to them to take away. If he gets wind of this and escapes, it will be difficult to send an answer to Hisaoshan County." "I see," said Lao Feng. "Wait outside, will you?" The runner withdrew to sit in the gatehouse. Thoroughly mortified, Lao Feng sent for his brother, and Mr. Yang showed them the writ and warrant for Mr. Chuan Wu Yang's arrest. Lao Chan was embarrassed too, but not so Yang Chi-chung. "Mr. Lao Feng, Mr. Lao Chan, remember the proverb," he urged them. "If a wasp gets next to your skin, remove your coat to shake it off. Since he has landed himself in this trouble, you gentlemen cannot protect him even if you want to. I will go and break it to him, then hand him over to the runners. He'll have to talk his way out of this." There was nothing the Lau brothers could do but let Yang go back to the library and explain briefly to the feasters what had happened. Chuan Wu Yang flushed crimson. "Truth is truth, lies are lies," he protested. "I'll go with him. I'm not afraid." Then the two brothers went in, not changing their manner to him, and expressed their indignation on his behalf. After drinking 2 parting cups of wine with him, and presenting him with 2 packages of silver for his journey, they saw him out of the gate, ordered one of the servants to carry his luggage for him, and bowed in farewell. As soon as the 2 runners saw that the felon was out of the Prime Minister's house, and the Lau brothers had gone in, they seized Chuan Wu Young and loaded him with chains. These 2 incidents left the Lau brothers rather discouraged. They ordered the gatekeeper, if strangers called, to say that they had returned to the capital, and henceforward they remained behind closed doors, devoting themselves to household affairs. Soon after this, Chu Hsian-fu came to take his leave of them, explaining that his grandfather was ill and that he must go back to Qising to nurse him. When the brothers heard this, they accompanied their nephew. By the time they reached Qising, Prefect Chu's illness had become very serious and seemed likely to prove mortal. Then the young man, at his grandfather's request, asked his uncles to arrange for his wife to be brought. The Lau brothers wrote a letter home and sent a maid to explain the situation. Mrs. Liu was unwilling to part with her daughter, but the young lady understood the duties of a wife and said that she must go to nurse her husband's grandfather. By this time, Xie Ping had married, and Xuan Hang was the only maid left to accompany the bride. They hired 2 big boats, had a dowry put aboard, and set off for Qising. But when they arrived, Prefect Chu was dead, and Master Chu was head of the family. His young wife looked after her mother-in-law and managed household affairs so well that all the relatives praised her. The Lau brothers stayed there until after the funeral, when they returned to Huqiao. Chu Hsian-fu remained in mourning for 3 years. Having witnessed his 2 uncles' final disillusionment, after so many gallant attempts to detect talent, his own ambition had left him, and he printed no more copies of Cao Chi's random notes on poetry to give to his friends. By the time the period of mourning was complete, Chu Hsian-fu's eldest son was 4, and every day his wife taught the child to read the 4 books and Paku essays, while the young man stood by giving advice. He longed now to discuss the examinations with friends who had done well in them, but unfortunately all his acquaintances in Qising thought of him as a poet and kept at a distance, with the result that he felt rather out of things. One day, however, as he was walking along the street, he saw a red paper announcement in a new bookshop. Our management has invited Mr. Ma Chun-shang of Chuqiao to compile a collection of essays. Any gentleman wishing to honor us with their essays should send them to Literary Ocean Bookshop, in the main street of Qising. Here is a famous editor, thought Chu Hsian-fu. Why not call on him? He hurried home to change his clothes and write a visiting card, then returned into the bookshop. Is Mr. Ma in? He asked. He is upstairs, said the clerk, and called, Mr. Ma, here is a visitor for you. Coming, responded a voice from upstairs, and Ma Chun-shang came down. Over 6 feet tall and powerfully built, he was wearing a scholar's cap, blue gown, and black shoes with white soles. His face was swarthy and his beard sparse. When they agreed at each other and sat down, Ma Chun-shang looked at Chu Hsian-fu's card. I have seen your honorable name appended to many poems, and have long wished to meet you, he said. Now that you have come to edit essays here, you will command the respect of all scholars. I have always wanted to make your acquaintance, and regret that we could not meet earlier. Tea was brought to them from the shop, and they drank it. Did you pass your examinations in Chuqiao, sir? Asked Chu Hsian-fu. You must undoubtedly have distinguished yourself. I have been licentiate for 24 years, but although I have been favored by the examiners and come first 6 or 7 times in the preliminary tests, I am ashamed to say that I have not done very well in the provincial examinations. It is a matter of luck. I am sure next time you will come first. After they had talked for some time, Chu Hsian-fu rose to leave, and Ma Chun-shang asked where he lived, so that he might return the visit the following day. Then Chu Hsian-fu went home and told his wife, Tomorrow Mr. Ma Chun-shang, an expert on the examination essays, is coming to call on me. We must ask him to dinner. Very pleased, she immediately set about making preparations. The next day, Ma Chun-shang changed into a loose gown, wrote a visiting card, and called at Chu Hsian-fu's home. Chu ushered him in. "We're not like ordinary friends, but have long been acquainted in spirit," said Chu. "Now that you have honored me with a visit, I hope you will favor us with your company while we prepare a simple meal. You must excuse our lack of ceremony." Ma Chun-shang was delighted. Then Chu Hsienfu asked, "What is the chief criterion you employ in selecting essays?" "The reasoning," replied Ma Chun-shang. "No matter how style changes, the reasoning remains the same. During the reigns of Hung Wu and Young Lo, we find one style, and during the reigns of Qing Hui and Huang Qi, another. But careful investigation shows that the reasoning remains the same. Generally speaking, it is bad enough to write essays which read like commentaries, but worse to imitate the style of odes and elegies. For essays which read like commentaries will simply lack the literary flavor, whereas those which sound poetic will not resemble the words of ancient sages. Of the two, therefore, the poetic type is worse. You have been speaking of writing essays. May I ask how one could comment upon essays?" "The same principle applies. You must not look for what is poetical. I often read the old masters' annotations, and when they are in flowery language, they remind us of odes or elegies, and the content is likely to have a bad influence on later scholars. How right the ancients were when they said, 'In writing an essay, the mind should remain as clear as the human eye. It must hold no dust, not even of jade or gold.' So when I comment upon essays, I try to use the language of Chu Hisi, often sitting up half the night to write one note. Since I write nothing carelessly, students who have read one of my commentaries may think out the principles for a dozen essays. When my selection is ready, I will send it to you for your criticism." As they were speaking, a simple meal was carried in. Boiled duck, boiled chicken, fish, and a big bowl of tender braised pork. Mr. Ma's appetite was enormous. "You and I are like old friends now," he said as he raised his chopsticks. "So I won't stand on ceremony. I propose that we leave this fish and concentrate on the pork." Falling to, he ate 4 bowls of rice and finished the whole bowl of meat. When the mistress knew this, she sent out another bowl, but he finished this too, soup and all. Then the table was carried out, tea was brought in, and they began talking. "Gifted as you are and coming from an illustrious family," said Ma Chun-shang, "you should have passed the examinations long ago. How is it that you are still in retirement?" "Since my father died early, I was brought up by my grandfather and occupied with family business. I had no time to study for the civil service." "That was a mistake. Right from ancient times, all the best men have gone in for the civil service. Confucius, for instance, lived during the spring and autumn period, when men were selected as officials on the strength of their activities and sayings. That is why Confucius said, 'Make few false statements and do little you may regret, then all will be well.' That was the civil service of Confucius' time. By the time of the warring states, the art of rhetoric had become the road to officialdom. That is why Mencius traveled through the Qi and Liang, delivering orations to the princes. That was the civil service of Mencius' time. By the Han time, the examination system was designed to select men for their ability, goodness, and justice. And thus men like Kung Sung Hung and Tung Chung Shu were appointed to office. That was the civil service of the Han dynasty. By the Tang dynasty, scholars were chosen for their ability to write poetry. Even if a man could talk like Confucius or Mencius, that would not get him a post. So all the Tang scholars learned to write poems. That was the civil service of the Tang dynasty. By the Sung dynasty, it was even better. All the scholars had to be philosophers. That was why the Qing brothers and Chu Hisi propagated Neo-Confucianism. That was the civil service of the Sung dynasty. Nowadays, however, we use essays to select scholars, and this is the best criterion of all. Even Confucius, if he were alive today, would be studying essays and preparing for the examinations instead of saying, "Make few false statements and do little you may regret." Why? Because that kind of talk would get him nowhere. Nobody would give him an official position. No, the old sage would find it impossible to realize his ideal. This conversation made Chu Hsienfu feel as if he were coming out of darkness into the bright light of day. He kept Mr. Ma to dinner too, and they became sworn brothers. Then the scholar said goodbye and went away. After this, they met nearly every day. One day in the bookshop, Chu Hsienfu noticed on the table the proof of the frontispiece of Ma Chun-shang's selected essays of various examinations, and below the title was inscribed, selected and annotated by Ma Chun-shang of Chu-Chao. I wonder if I might add my name to your distinguished work, in order to share a little of your fame, suggested Chu with a smile. There are reasons against it, replied Mr. Ma gravely. To get one's name on the frontispiece is not easy. In fact, it is only because I have done well in recent years in the preliminary tests and made a slight reputation for myself that my services are in request. Of course, your illustrious name is more than worthy of a place on the cover. But one of us only can have his name there, and that is for a very good reason. For what reason, may I ask? It is a question of profit and reputation. I don't want to spoil my reputation by giving the impression that I am out for profit. Yet if I put your name down after mine, people will think that you finance the publication and that I am working for money. On the other hand, if I put your name before mine, that will mean that the little reputation I have enjoyed all these years will seem false. If you imagine our positions reversed, you'll see that you would feel the same way. As they were speaking, a simple meal of 1 bowl of cabbage and 2 small dishes of vegetables were brought up from the shop. I can hardly invite you to share this simple fare, said Ma Chun-shang. What can we do? What does it matter, said Chu Hsian-fu. But I know you're not used to a vegetable diet, so I brought some silver with me. With that, he took out a piece of silver and asked the shopkeeper's second son to buy a bowl of cooked pork. When they had eaten, he took his leave. At home, Chu Hsian-fu and his wife gave their son lessons every day till midnight. And if the boy did not know his lessons properly, his mother would keep him at it till morning, sending her husband to bed first in the library, where a maid Shuang Hong brought him tea and water and waited on him. Shuang Hong could read poems and often brought verses for him to explain to her. And because Chu liked her, he gave her as a work box the old casket presented to him by the prefect Wang, and it inadvertently told her how he had met this rebel. Now Huan Cheng, son of the steward in the Lau household, was a rascal who had reached an understanding with Shang Hong when they were young, and one day he had the impudence to run away to Chie Sing and carry her off. Very angry, Chu Hsian-fu informed the county magistrate, who issued a writ and had them arrested and kept in custody in a runner's house. Huan Chen asked a friend to plead with Shang Hong's master and say that he was willing to pay a few dozen taels of silver for her if he could have her as his wife. But Chu Hsian-fu would not consent. If the runner had hailed Huan Cheng before the magistrate again, the youth would not have escaped a beating, and the girl would have been sent back to the Chu family. So Huan Cheng had to bribe the runner until his money was finished and all his clothes had been pawned. One evening, in the runner's house, Huan Cheng and Sheng Hong were discussing how they might pawn the old casket for a few dozen coins to buy food. Shuang Hong, as a slave girl, knew very little about politics. This casket used to belong to a high official, she told Huan Cheng, so I think it must be worth a lot of silver. It would be a pity to sell it for a few coins. Did it belong to Mr. Chu or Mr. Lu? To neither. It belonged to a much more important official than even Prefect Chu. I heard the master say that there was a certain Prefect Wang, who came after Prefect Chu at Nanchang, and later became ever such a high official and made friends with Prince Ning. Prince Ning was trying all the time to kill the emperor, but the emperor killed him first, and he wanted to kill Prefect Wang too, but Prefect Wang ran away to Chiking. For some reason or other, the emperor wanted this casket as well. So Prefect Wang didn't dare keep it to himself for fear he was discovered, and gave it to our master. Our master kept it at home and gave it to me to keep needles and threads in, not knowing that I would bring it away. I think anything the emperor wants must be worth a lot of money, don't you? If you look inside the casket, you can still see the words that Prefect Wang wrote there. The emperor would hardly want this casket, said Yuan Cheng. You must have got it wrong. This can't be worth much. At this point, the runner, who had been listening outside, kicked open the door and came in. You silly fool, he shouted. Why let yourself be cooped up here when you can cash in on this treasure you've got? What treasure have I got? Idiot. If I tell you, it will be too good for you. Not only will I get you a wife for nothing, but you should make a few hundred taels of silver into the bargain. If you treat me to a big meal, though, and promise to divide the money 50-50 with me, I'll tell you. As long as I have money, I will give you half, said Yuan Cheng. But I can't treat you, sir, unless I sell this casket tomorrow. Sell the casket? If you do that, it will be the end of everything. I'll lend you money. The feast this evening is on me. And what's more, if you need anything from tomorrow onward, you would only to ask me. You must repay me double, though. I shall deduct it anyway," he added. "You won't be able to get away with anything." Thereupon the runner produced 200 coins with which he bought wine and meat. And he shared this meal with 2 young people, saying that he would charge this to Huan Cheng's account. As they were eating, Huan Cheng asked, "What is it you said I should cash in on, sir?" "Today we're feasting," said the runner. "Let's talk about it tomorrow." That evening they played the finger game and drank till midnight, when all the 200 coins were spent. The miserable Huan Cheng was so drunk that he slept till noon the next day. The runner, however, got up at dawn to consult another experienced runner. "Which would be more profitable for us all, sir?" he asked. Having explained the situation, to inform on him or to try a little blackmail. The runner spat in disgust. "Inform in a case like this?" he sneered. "What would you get out of that? Take your time and negotiate with the other side, and you can be sure of getting some money out of him. To think you've been all these years in this business, and you're still so green that in a case like this you want to inform. Inform your mother's head." Ashamed yet pleased, the runner hurried home to find Huan Cheng still in bed. "Having a good time, aren't you?" he cried. "Still cuddling that bitch at this time of day? Hurry and get up. I want to talk to you." Huan Cheng got up at once, and as soon as he left his room, the runner said, "Come on outside and talk." The two of them went out hand in hand to a quiet tea shop in the street. "You're a fool, my lad," said the runner. "All you understand is eating, drinking, and whoring. You have a prize in your hands. You don't know how to use it. Isn't that like going to a treasure trove and coming away empty-handed? Please tell me, sir, how to go about this." "I don't mind advising you, but you mustn't forget to thank me." Just then a man passed the door, called out a greeting, and moved on. The runner noticed that this fellow looked thoughtful, so he told Huan Cheng to wait while he tiptoed after the other. "He's beaten me up, but there are no wounds," he heard him mutter, "so I can't take the case to court. And if I wound myself, the magistrate will easily find it out." Then the runner quietly picked up a brick, charged forward like an avenging fury, and hit the other man's head with the brick so that the blood gushed out. The man stumbled. "Hey, what are you doing?" he demanded. "You were complaining that you had no wound. Isn't this a wound? And you couldn't have made it yourself either. I don't think the magistrate will be able to tell how it was done. Go ahead and lodge your complaint." The man thanked the runner from the bottom of his heart, and smeared his face with blood and went to lay the suit before the magistrate. To Huan Cheng, standing in the doorway of the tea shop, this was another object lesson in finesse. The runner came back and sat down. "Yesterday evening I heard your wife say that the casket belonged to Prefect Wang," he said. "Now Prefect Wang went over to Prince Ning and then escaped. Therefore, he is a great traitor, and this casket is a most important piece of evidence. Since Mr. Chu is his friend and has hidden his belongings, if we inform on him, he can be executed or sent into exile. What can he do to you?" When Huan Cheng heard this, he felt as if he were waking from a dream. "Why, sir," he cried, "I will go and lodge a charge at once. If you report him, you silly boy, this whole family may be executed. What good will that do? You won't get a cent, and it's not as if you were sworn enemies. No. What you want to do is send someone to frighten him into giving you several hundred taels of silver and letting you have the girl for your wife without payment. That's what you must do. You are too good to me, sir. I shall do everything you say." "Don't be hasty," said the runner. Then, paying for the tea, he walked out with the young man, adding, "When you get home, don't breathe a word of this to your wife." Huan Cheng agreed. After this, the runner lent him money to eat and drink to his heart's content, and he was very happy. When Chu Hsian Fu pressed to have Huan Cheng hailed before the magistrate again, the runner simply put him off, procrastinating from day to day, until Chu was so angry that he threatened to bring a charge against him. "The time is ripe now," the runner told Huan Cheng. "What friends has Mr. Chu?" "I don't know," replied Huan Cheng. He asked Shuang Hung. "In Hu Chao, he has a great many friends, but here I haven't seen any," he said. "I did hear, though, that a certain Mr. Ma from some bookshop had called several times. When Huan Cheng told the runner this, the latter said, "That's simple then." He found a clerk to write an indictment for use against a rebel, and then, taking this with him, made inquiries in different bookshops along the main road until he came to Literary Ocean. There he asked for Mr. Ma. When Ma Chun Shang saw that he came from the Yamen, although he did not know what the runner's business could be, he had to invite him to come upstairs and sit down. "Sir," said the master, "do you know a Mr. Chu of the family of Prefect Chu from Nanchang?" "He is my best friend. Why do you ask?" The runner looked around. "Can we be overheard here?" he asked. "No." Then the runner hitched forward his chair and produced the indictment for Mr. Ma to read. "When something like this happens," he said, "we servants of the public do what we can to soften the blow. I want to break this news to him so that he can be prepared." When Ma Chun Shang read the indictment, his face turned white, and he asked for further details. "This must at no cost be allowed to go forward," he said. "I must ask you to be kind enough, sir, to keep this indictment until Mr. Chu comes home. He has just gone to repair his grandfather's grave. We can discuss this when he comes back." That fellow wants to send it in today," said the runner. "This is a criminal offense. Who dares hold up the course of the law?" "What is to be done then?" demanded Ma Chun Shang in dismay. "Is it possible a learned man like you doesn't know? Fire cooks pork and money works wonders. All you need is some silver to buy the casket. Then there won't be any more trouble." Ma Chun Shang clapped his hands. "An excellent idea," he cried. He locked his door and went with the runner to a tavern. Mr. Ma stood host. He ordered a good meal and they discussed the matter as they ate. But to know how much money the runner demanded for the casket, you must read the next chapter.